Hello. Today we're going to talk about cueing. Cueing, the objective of that is to make somebody move better. More specifically than that, I want to make them move better. I want to do it in a quick and efficient way, and I want to make the athlete feel good. I don't want to go over and over and over and over and over again with something and they don't get it and then they feel like they can't. So I want to make it quick and efficient so they feel good about it. There's three main types of cues that we're going to use in the gym, and then there's kind of combinations of those. Those are going to be verbal, visual, and tactile. And then a combination of visual and verbal, which I like to use a lot. Now what I found is that there's generally one or two cues that if I use them for a certain fault, they're going to fix most people's faults. From there's going to be a select few people that I'm going to need to dig into my tool bag of cues to get a little bit more specific with, or just try a different way of communicating it with them to help them solve that fault. Now, with the goal of being quick and efficient with your cueing, you want to choose something that's going to be simple. We use directional cues, which involve taking a body part and moving it in a certain direction. So a quick example for a squat fault with the knees falling in and the ankles rolling in, I can very easily say, push the knees out, push the knees apart. I'm taking a body part, the knees, and I'm giving them a direction, push them apart. Now let's go through some examples of common movement faults and then some verbal, visual, and combination cues that we can use to correct those faults. So let's start with a super common fault in the squat of the knees caving in. Now if I want to give just a visual cue, basically I'll look across at the person and I'll just do this. Oftentimes that will work. If that doesn't work, I can go with a verbal cue. So if I'm close enough to them, I can say, hey, push your knees apart. And that should be able to do it. Or a combination visual verbal cue that I can give is, hey, what you're doing is this. What I want you to do is this. And then if I wanted to give a tactile cue, because none of this is working, I can set my hand or use a stick if we're still not touching each other during COVID. I can use a stick and put it out here and I want to say, hey, touch my hand or touch the stick with your knee. And I can have two sticks if I need so that they can reach out with both knees and touch the sticks. Maybe another common fault is, say, in a shoulder to overhead movement like a press, or push jerk, or in a snatch, the athlete is receiving the barbell with a bent elbow. So I can give a very easy visual cue and I can look over them and do this. So showing them that's where we're at, that's where we want to be. A verbal cue can be straighten the elbow or press harder. And then a combination verbal visual is, hey, this is what we're getting and this is what I'd like. Tactile cue can be, I can put my hand on top of their bar and say, hey, push up against my bar, and oftentimes that's going to give them a little more feedback. And there's a tactile cue for it. Another common fault when an athlete is pulling from the floor is a lack of neutral spine. So we get flexion at the spine, and obviously we'd like a neutral spine. So a visual cue that I can give them is obviously I need to make eye contact, and I'll do this to show them that's where we're at and that's what I'd like. A verbal cue that I can give them that I find works very well is a pull your chest up or show me a proud chest, and oftentimes that will give them a nice proud position and go from flexion to neutral. And then a tactile cue that I can give them, and this is one that I can get them to do on their own, is I can have them hold a stick, a PVC stick along their back, and I want them to have contact with the hips and the shoulders at all times during that movement. If during the movement they round at the back, the stick is going to come off the shoulders or off the butt or both. I'll go with a more specific fault here now. It does happen pretty commonly, and this one's during the power clean, where you'll see people before the hips extend, they'll start pulling with the arms. So as the bar comes off the ground, the arms will bend, and then they're using the arms instead of the legs to derive power. So a visual cue that I can use is showing them that your arms are bent, I would like them straight. A verbal cue can be, hey, keep the arms straight until you jump or until you extend. And then a combination cue that I can give them is I can say, hey, what we're doing right now is, what I'd like is, so I'm showing them the fault that they're doing, and then I'm showing them what I'd like. And oftentimes that's going to be effective because they don't know what they look like. So if you can give them a visual of this is what you're doing, they're going to correlate that with what they're doing, and they're going to be able to fix it. Now keep in mind, your goal as a coach is to improve movement along with having fun, but number one, improve quality of movement. So if you find that you're going through your coaching and the fault is not being corrected, the athlete is not moving better, don't give up, right? Stick with it, find a way to help them, and be relentless with that. Never give up on improving somebody's movement. We ideally want to strive for what's called virtuosity. And what we say is virtuosity is doing the common uncommonly well. It's not just good enough to do the movement all right. Let's make it as good as possible. So if you can do that, you're going to have athletes that move well. You're going to be a happy, proud coach because you know that they're being safe and efficient. And they're going to tell their friends about the great results that they're getting with you, and they're going to refer. So, virtuosity, relentlessness, keep it up.